Hello students, welcome back to class. All right, I'm glad you had a nice time in my previous class. We're going to be looking at a new topic this time. The topic will be human rights. We want to look at what actually is human rights and how it concerns us as a citizen or as a human being. Human rights. These are the rights and privileges we enjoy because we are human beings. These rights are inherent in all human beings. They are universal because they are applicable everywhere. They are egalitarian because they are the same for everyone, regardless of race, color, language, religion, gender, etc. So when we're talking about human rights, we're talking about the rights and privileges you enjoy because you are a human being, and these rights and privileges is available to you anywhere you go in the world. You don't need to be a citizen of a particular country to access them. You access them because you are a human being, because some of all these rights and privileges are born with you as a human being. When I look at a brief history of human rights, most societies traditionally have had what is similar to the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. However, a lot of atrocity were committed during the Second World War. After the war, human rights movement developed ideas on the rights of people. In 1948, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in Paris. So that became what is today known as human rights, and every other countries were asked and encouraged to develop their own rights, which will now be peculiar to their country from the general human rights law. And that is what also gave birth to what is known today as fundamental human rights, which is in the constitution of every country. We now look at fundamental human rights. These are clearly stated in the constitution of every country. We will now examine that of Nigeria. We have a lot of them. I think one of them is right to life, meaning that everybody has the right to live. Another one is right to dignity of the human person, meaning everybody have a right to be respected, to feel like someone who have every reason to live. For no reason should anybody make you feel less of yourself. The other one is right to personal liberty. You have the right to be free, to take a walk, to move around. Nobody have a right to cage you, to put you in a cage and lock you there. Then you have a right to fair hearing. If you involve in an issue with somebody, you have a right to speak up, to stand before a competent court of law to say what happened and the way it happened. Then you have a right to private family life. So you have a right to get married, to raise your own family, to start up your own family. You also have a right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. So you have a right to think. You have a right to also share your choice, how you feel about something. You also have a right to choose which religion you will practice, whether you become a Christian, whether you become a Muslim, that you become juju servers and so on and so forth. You also have a right of expression. We call it freedom of expression and press, meaning that you have a right to express yourself, to speak up. You also have a right to go to the press, and that's why we also have what is called press, free press. Press also have the right to hear your view and also let the world know what you think or what you are going through. You also have a right to peaceful assembly and association. So you have a right to join any group you want to join. You have a right to have an assembly, people coming together to discuss on certain issues. You have a right to do so, as long whatsoever you are discussing has nothing to do with the security of the country. You are not in any way making plans to breach the country security. As long as for something notable, something that will help your group to move forward, you have a right to do so. You also have a right to freedom of movement. So you could move, you can travel from one country to the other, from one state to the other, without anybody preventing you from doing so. You also have a right from discrimination. You have a right not to be discriminated, irrespective of how you look, whether you look ugly, whether you are HIV positive, whether you are this or that. Everybody have a right to respect you for who you are. Nobody should discriminate you for any reason. You also have a right to acquire and own immovable property anywhere in Nigeria. You have a right to buy, as long as you have the money, to buy property anywhere in the world, anywhere in Nigeria as the case may be, and nobody can take it away from you because you have what it takes to afford such properties. When I look at limitations of human rights, there are certain circumstances which may lead to the limitation of human rights. They are as follows. One is war. During war, there is no right. Nobody talk about rights when there is war. What people are concerned about is safety. Is for them to survive the war. Because what you see during war is rocket, is missiles, is gun, sound, is the other country trying to oppress the other country or do what they can to overpower the other country. So as at that time there could be casualties. So nobody is there to listen to you or to want to know whether you have any rights. So this is one of the key limitations to human rights. So during war, there is no human rights. Another one is state of emergency. State of emergency is a situation whereby there's an insecurity in a particular location, and the insecurity is taking over. It's taking over the state. It could be a state. It's taking over the state. They could declare a state of emergency. State of emergency is a situation whereby military will take over the state to restore peace and order. And at the time they are doing this, you cannot be claiming you have a right. There could be an order. They could say people should not be out at a certain time. They could say they don't want to see anybody at a particular location. So you cannot say you have a right of movement. No, because a state of emergency have been declared. So you must understand that. So when there is a state of emergency, everybody must do all they can to respond in a positive note to also help the government to restore peace and order. Quarantine. When you are quarantined, maybe you have a disease. There could be an outbreak of disease like we had during COVID, and people have been infected with this disease. Immediately that happened, they will quarantine them. They keep them in an isolated location, a place where just only them will stay. And as at that time, you can't be talking about rights because you are already a threat to millions of people. So they want to try all they can to take care of that infection that is in you. So as at that time, your right is not in question. Nobody's talking about that. What they are talking about is either how they are going to be able to take care of you so that you will be fine, and also be able to prevent you from contaminating other persons. Another one is mental illness. When somebody is not mentally fit, when somebody is mad, when it's not normal, that person's right or human right has been taken over. Such a person can be chained, so the person can be kept in an isolated location to take care of him in one way or the other. So as that the person is not in his right frame of mind, so that kind of a person cannot be talking about right. Another one is conviction in a court. When somebody has been convicted of a crime, the person is therefore sentenced to serve in imprisonment. So as at that time, his right or her right will be denied. Such a person cannot talk about his or her right, because that person has the right also not to have gone to commit the crime he or she committed that brought him to the court in the first place. Another one is education and welfare. So when someone is under 18, he's still living under the roof of his parents and is schooling, the parents are taking care of him, that kind of a person can also talk about human rights, because within the period of time that person is going to be under 18, his parents are going to make choice for him or her, and as such the person will not be talking about his or her right. Another one is curfew. Curfew is a situation whereby it's also more or less like a state of emergency, whereby a time frame is now set that citizens cannot be seen within this period of time in the public, and they can be seen within this period of time in the public. So it could be 6 to 6, dusk to dusk, as the case may be, that citizens can be seen before 6, towards 6 in the evening, and after 6 nobody is to be seen in the public. So when that also has been declared, nobody talks about human rights. Then ban on the public assembly. There are times government could declare a ban on public assembly for one reason or the other. Like we noticed during COVID, there was a lot of regulations, there was a lot of issues as it concerns gathering of people, just to control the spread of such infection. We now look at what happened during a state of emergency. A lot happened during a state of emergency. We will not waste time to list them. Let us just go straight to one of them. One of them is restriction of movement. During state of emergency, the movement of the people are restricted. What that means is that their movements are cut to size, so they are given a privilege to move to a certain place, and they are also told not to go beyond that place. That also is what we call a restriction. There's slow economic growth. So when there is, for example, during that lockdown, there was no business, no activities of business, because everybody was asked to stay indoor. So as such, the economy will not be moving, because it is business activities that grow the economy. This is all we are going to take in this lesson. In our next class, we'll continue. I'll see you in my next class.